I want to call to order the June 2nd, 2011 meeting of the Ascension Parish Council. Madam Secretary, roll call. Please note that Councilman Bell, Councilman Valentine are absent, all others present. There be no chair additions. Other than right now, I want to announce that we've been asked to pass on presentation item number 5. Number 4, public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in with the secretary and you'll be given time to speak at the time that such item arises. I want to ask, I'm sorry, I want to ask that we please stand for the invocation by Ms. Sherry Kinchin, the HR Director for Ascension Parish. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance by James LeBlanc.
Heavenly Father, please give guidance and clarity to this governing body as they make decisions tonight that will affect the citizens of the parish. Please watch over our men and women in uniform, serving our country abroad and here at home. Keep them safe from harm and return them safely to their loved ones. Thank you for the many blessings and freedoms we enjoy here in this country. And Father, thank you for the citizens who attended a Memorial Day service all across this great nation and for giving them the power of reflection as they honored all the fallen men and women who died to guarantee the freedoms they enjoy. Provide comfort to those families still mourning their loss. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. LeBlanc, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, I apologize for rolling on without the invocation and the pledge. Like I said, we'll pass on the presentations, item number 5. We'll move right into the parish president's report. Mr. President, nothing? Thank you, sir. We'll move to agenda item number 7, the consent agenda.
Motion.
We have a motion by, who's the motion by over here? By Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to general business. Agenda item number 8, the 2010 audit presentation. Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, Tommy Lejeune, and Jacob Wagerspack of Falk and Winkler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here again, we've gone through another year with you. It's been our privilege to work with you to serve as the parish's auditor. What I've got for you tonight, in your package, you're going to see one large booklet. That's your 2010 audit report. Included in there are a couple of pieces of information. One is our management letter, and the other is a packet of about 8 slides that we're going to walk through with you tonight that basically encompasses some of the major financial aspects of what happened with the parish over this last year. We did meet back in May with the Audit Exit Committee, which consisted of your finance chairman, Mr. Lohr, Mr. Kluot, and your chairman, Mr. Bell, and reviewed the results that we're going to go over with you tonight. What I'd like to do is sort of start into the packet, and if you move on into page 3, I'm just going to hit some of the financial highlights, and basically this will consist of not only this past year, but the previous 4 years. Starting with the first 2 graphs on page 3, basically several observations. One, this depicts all the assets of the parish for the last 5 years in that first graph. And basically, you had pretty flat growth in terms of your asset base over the last year. You can see that you got really two main assets that the parish has, which is made up the blue and red part of the graphs: cash position and property that you own. That's buildings, equipment, vehicles, infrastructure improvements, those types of things, which is very common with large governments. As you look at, although assets didn't change overall that much, the composition did, and I'm going to get into that in more detail in a moment. But overall, your cash position was down, but your property was up, and there's a number of reasons for that. you go over to the next slide, which is your cash and investments, overall, you finished the year with right at about $133 million in cash, and that's compared to about $135 million in cash for 2009. What's interesting about this is ordinarily you would look at a decline in cash as a negative trend, but if you look at the composition of how your cash is made up and where cash is dedicated, your operations, which is the first three categories with special revenue, proprietary funds, and debt service, those first three colors on the graph represent your operations. And you can see cash is up considerably from an operational standpoint. And if you look at the largest part, your capital outlay cash, for your capital outlay funds, you can see that came down considerably, which meant you spent a lot of money doing improvements to infrastructure and roads and drainage and those types of things during 2010. So basically, cash went up from an operational standpoint. Cash went down cash went up from an operational standpoint. Cash went down from a capital outlay standpoint. But that's good for a growing community. Going on to page 4, which is the other side of your balance sheet, which is basically your liabilities and debt and net worth of the parish. Really looking at the first graph and focusing in on the bottom half, the green part of this graph, which is your debt. For 2010, debt went down. Basically just scheduled maturities on debt that you have outstanding, and you retired about $3 million in debt over this past year. On the top part of the graph, your red and yellow, that's the net worth of the parish, both what's invested in equipment and property, and basic cash and other forms of equity. Overall, net worth went up. So two things happened. Debt went down, net worth went up. That's, from a financial perspective, a very good trend. And you've done that for several years now. So, as a CPA and somebody who looks at finance, I mean, that's to see good health and see financial health grow. That's what you want to see. Looking at the other side of the page and looking at fund equity, this basis brings us down back into your budgetary basis, how you ordinarily look at your funds, and really just excludes capital property, just what is our liquid net worth. And you can see overall, you didn't have a lot of change here, but if you just focus on the first, the categories other than red, really the blue one, which is the largest one, that one grew. That's your operational funds. So overall, and we'll get more into this in a moment, you saw some growth there, but you did see a reduction in terms of what capital outlay resources that you had. And a lot of that was just targeted spending. Ascension is a growing community, and you have an obligation to continue to improve infrastructure, and that's what this reflects. Moving on to page 5, looking at both your revenue and expenditures overall, total revenue for the year, you can see, is just shy of $75 million, and that's up slightly over where you were last year. If you look at just the first two components, which is the largest part of your revenue, or your resources, taxes were relatively flat at about $52 million. The only thing that you really saw some growth in was grant activity in terms of the acquisition and receipt of grant funds. But all your other categories of resources stayed pretty flat. So what that tells me is you operated by and large with the same source of money from the community. Those taxpayers that support government gave you the same amount of money as 2009 that you got in 2010. Now, if you look on the other side of the page and focus on expenditures, where did the money get spent, we sort of broke this down into two categories, one operational and two capital projects. And really it was interesting, although expenditures went up by the tune of about $5 million, you look at those two components and compare the blue in 2009, which is your operational expenses, to the blue in 2010, and you can see that's come down considerably, to the tune of about $4 million. So you had a flat level of resources coming in, and you spent less money from an operational standpoint. On the other hand, if you come up and you look at money that you invested in to infrastructure improvements and various capital outlay, you can see that increased significantly from 2009 to 2010, and that's up about $9 million. So you spent a lot more of parish resources on improving infrastructure in the parish, and you spent less resources on operating government. Okay, if you go on to page 6, we're focusing here on your sales tax, and in particular your undedicated sales tax, the 1 cent tax. So starting with the first one, this is all 3 sales taxes that the parish collects. Overall, from 2009 to 2010, it was flat basically in all categories, and you collected about $32 million overall from a sales tax standpoint. The next page, what that shows us or captures for you is just where does your 1 cent sales tax get spent. I mean, that's the blue that's in all 3 category of sales taxes. On the next page, you got about $16 million in spending out of your undedicated sales tax. And what that sales tax represents is basically the parish's financial flexibility. It's the one tax that you can utilize on basically supporting government. It doesn't have a direct dedication other than what you set by budget ordinance. But overall, where you've elected to, and the activities you've elected to support, a great deal of it is in the roadway, in your roadway program. You spend a lot of money here on recreation and utilities, and it also supports a lot of general operations. But overall, spending was up relative to these taxes, and some of that was supporting some of the capital outlay expenditures that I mentioned earlier. On page 7, and the last 2 graphs I want to focus on just some specific activities. Looking at East Ascension drainage, both revenues and expenditures. Overall, revenues are up slightly. Local taxes, which is both property and sales tax, are fairly flat. You can look at the blue part of this graph, and for the last 3 years, you've not seen a lot of growth here. So you've been able to operate this area with the same level of resources. The only thing you did see some growth in was grants, as I mentioned earlier, and that's in that red component of the graph. Looking at the other side in terms of EA drainage expenditures, overall expenditures were down, although capital outlay was fairly flat in this area at about $2.5 million. You can see the bottom part of the graph, which is personnel, that those costs were down. So operationally, you operated this fund with less expenditures from an operational standpoint. And then finally on page 8, looking at your roadway program, total revenues to support your road construction and maintenance efforts is at about $10 million, and you can see that's been pretty consistent for the last 2 years. But that money basically supports not only the day-to-day operations and maintenance of keeping roads together, but also expending money to enhance and construct roads. And then finally finishing up on where the construction costs are, as you can see, expenditures were up over 2009, and that's primarily due to the capital outlay efforts that you made this past year in the green component, but your operational costs were relatively flat. Just to sort of wrap that up, looking at just overall from a financial standpoint, I mean, obviously that's very good performance. It's probably the best financial position I've seen the parish in, and I've been doing the audit since 1994. So, I mean, you've really seen, you're really in the best financial condition that you've been in since we've been doing the audit. You've got really good net worth, good financial position, and you've got good resources to support the things you want to do from the tax base and the repetitive taxes that you see. From a fund balance standpoint, you've got really good fund balances overall, not only to support operations, but also to do capital outlay activities. So you've got really good flexibility from a financial perspective. Also, as part of our audit, we look at 2 other things. One is internal control and the accounting processes and procedures that the parish has, in addition to compliance with various laws and regulations, compliance with your grant agreements, things of that nature. And we did not have any significant deficiencies that we reported. We had a couple of minor recommendations, but nothing that we consider to be significant. And those were communicated to your audit exit committee members as well as management. But I think the results and the lack of any significant deficiencies are really attributable to how well of a job your finance department does. That they execute the accounting policies that you have in place, and they operate it with a sense of integrity, that you're able to comply with various regulations and laws that you're expected to comply with. The last thing I'll end up on is this report, as you can see, is fairly big. We do submit it to the Government Finance Officers Association. This will be the 4th year in a row that we submit this report, this document, for them to judge it for a certificate in excellence, which is a national accreditation. And there are less than 4,000 governments nationwide participating in that program. So it's something that you should be proud of. I know we're very proud of.
Thank you,
With
Tom.
that, I'll answer any questions that you guys may have.
Mr. Thompson?
I just want to say thanks to our finance department, Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, for the department doing such a great job. Every year we have a good report, and it looks like it gets better and better. So thanks to your department and all your employees in that department.
Thank you, sir. Finance Chairman, Mr. Lohr.
Thank you, Randy. Just a couple of comments I wanted to make as I was listening to the presentation. You said, I think this is key, our revenues are not going up. Obviously, Louisiana was fortunate enough compared to the rest of the nation not to be as hard hit with the recession. However, if you look around surrounding parishes and everything else, we are still far and above excelling in a number of areas. So revenues aren't going up. It's because it's easy when you have money to obviously get some things done and make things look good. But with revenues not going up, you said we're paying off debt, we're restraining ourselves on spending, working with the administration, conservative budgeting every year. And the administration's also been working on decreasing operational expenses. All of that has translated into additional capital outlay improvements, which means roads. So our road, we're actually, because of the way we're handling our finances and the way we are working together, we are making more money available for our most crucial need, which is roads. And I think that's a big testament to the work of this council and the work of this parish president. You know, do our needs still outweigh our ability to meet them in terms of roads? Absolutely. I mean, there are still a ton of things we need to do, but I think we are being effective financial stewards, and your statement that this is the best the parish has been in almost 20 years, I think is a testament to that as well. So, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Shake Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Tommy, I also say the thing. I think we need to be careful about trivializing what is being reported tonight. Take a look around. Go to Baton Rouge. Take a long trip. I know every year we go to Washington, D.C. to find out, we try to find out how you're supposed to do government and things, and maybe more people from Washington need to come to Ascension Parish and find out how to do government. It's not easy to get a balanced budget in these days and age. The last 3 years we've been on a flat scale. Lord knows, look at the gas prices and everything's going up. All kinds of prices are going up, and yet we're able to do it and increase services, not lose services. I think the administration has taken a good, firm, conservative stance on finances, and they're able to present something, and then you don't see this council, I haven't seen it, the grandstanding to try to get something passed or something like that, that was fiscally irresponsible. I think the cooperation between the council and the administration to do this has gone a long way to bring this parish where it is right now. It's very hard to do. During that period of time, we've also taken on Lamar-Dixon, which is a big investment. We've increased recreation throughout the parish on both banks, and considerable improvement. I think more of that needs to be said. That's big news. Yet, you know, you read the paper, and tomorrow you're going to read it again about all the problems they're going through in Baton Rouge and trying to get within a couple $1 billion of a balanced budget. And I think that's important, that everybody recognize that administration, the people that are on the council, are all working together to try to be conservative and make this thing happen. And I think that's important. So we appreciate what you're doing, and I think the staff knows what all the councilmen feel like will reflect Mr. Lord and everyone else. It's not easy to make those decisions, and we appreciate all the work that you do.
Any other councilman, any questions? Do we have any, Parish President, you got any statements you'd like to make?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I just want to thank all the department heads, because we start the budget process in July, and we go through a lot, and everybody comes in July with a wish list, and we have a group of us that have to be the bad guys, and we start whittling away at what happens. We try to make sure that we have enough money to operate the next year, and also look at the future, and hopefully we have enough money to build roads. Roads are the #1 priority in this parish, and we're never going to have enough money to do all we need to do in that respect, but we got to keep just picking away. And you heard a lot tonight about grants. Grant money this year, I think we got $55 million in grant money. Well, that says a lot. So we have a great grant department. They do an excellent job. A lot of grants you don't want, so we're very choosy as to what we take and don't take. You hear that from time to time. But, a lot of these grants are helping us acquire things, helping us do infrastructure needs in the parish at a very minimal cost. A lot of them are maybe 10% match, some of them are 5%, some are 20%, and some are 0. So we just have to continue along those roads, and just as the economy slowly comes back, we should be able to adjust and continue adjusting, and try to put all of our extra dollars in infrastructure where the needs are. And I think that that's the goal of this council and goal of this administration. And as I said, I want to thank all department heads, because without them, every fund balance finished in a positive mode this year. So I'm proud of all my departments. They did an excellent job, and proud of the people that work for Ascension Parish.
Thank you, sir. Tom, thank y'all very much. I'd just like to close, in fact, what Parish President brought up about the grants. And I think the administration as a whole, and especially all the department heads, that work within our grants program, keep a close tab on it in-house, that we mitigated the risk that's associated with a lot of the grants. And, everybody's doing a good job. So we appreciate that. And like Councilman Shakespeare said, we don't want to downplay the significance of the good audit, whether the numbers don't lie. We don't want to downplay the significance of a good audit, a good true audit that comes out and hits the numbers, and the numbers balance out. We appreciate Ms. Gwynn, her department, and all departments. Thank you.
Thank
We'll move on to agenda item number 9, official journal bid, approval of the lowest responsive bid for the Gonzales Weekly Citizen. Ms. Jones Shivers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Per Louisiana Revised Statute 43.141A, the right to act as official journal. On May 17, 2011, the Purchasing Department received one bid for the right to act as official journal. The bid was received from the Gonzales Weekly Citizen. After review, the Purchasing Department and Parish Secretary recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid from the Gonzales Weekly Citizen.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Lord, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Shivers. Move on to agenda item number 10, Ms. Martha Collins. Amendment to professional services contract between Ascension Parish Government and Fort and Tovala Incorporated, amended to expire on December 31, 2011.
Yes, sir. This contract's related to one of our grants, and basically there's no money change. It's just the extension of the dates.
Motion. Mr. Chairman, second. A motion by Mr. Dennis Cullen, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 11, resolution approval to enter into a subcontract agreement with Church United of Community Development, CUCD, for the 2010 to 2012 Louisiana Emergency Shelter Grant, and to authorize Parish President Tommy Martinez to sign and execute all documents pertaining to this grant, and/or Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, CFO, for financial documents.
Mr. Chairman, this is an extension of a grant that we have with the state. This is a sub-agreement that is with Church United, and we're requesting a resolution allowing the parish president to sign, and Ms. Gwen.
We have a resolution by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Chris Lloyd. Any discussion? Any opposition? Resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move into planning and zoning recommendations. Agenda item number 12. Mr. Ricky Compton, is Ricky in here?
Lance.
Okay, we got Lance Brock. Zoning review ID 2157.11, St. Joseph School of Ascension Parish, due to a consent judgment suit number 99339, located on the northwest corner of Louisiana Highway 44 and LA 22, to amend Ascension Parish zoning map to move a historical site designation for St. Joseph School due to the site being removed from the National Register of Historical Places.
Yes, the recommendation from the zoning commission was to approve or accept to take the St. Joseph off the zoning map. The designation.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have speakers on that? Yes. I'd like to start with Mr. Gail Robert.
Thanks very much. In reference to the financial report, congratulations to everybody with the parish. You did a great job. All I'd like to say, we were born and raised in Burnside in 1956. Sold our land for the first industry that came along, which was Armet, and relocated on the corner, 22 and 44 in Burnside. We've been there all of our life. You know, not until you start expanding and building do you realize some of the headaches that you reach and get into, and so part of things that happened with the overlay and thing that existed there at the corner was, you know, a conflict on what we wanted to do and expand in the area and everything else. And after due consideration, we would like very much, it's been before the planning and zoning. We know that it would probably create problems for other things in the area, and would like to see that y'all approve to remove it from the overlay. Appreciate your considerations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Al Robert Jr.
Chairman Kluwat, council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. According to the Ascension Parish zoning ordinance, the only criteria that should be considered in this determination is whether or not there's a building that is listed on the National Historic Register located on the property. There is not, and as referenced on the agenda, there's a June 21st, 2010 letter from the state that it has been removed. So accordingly, any decision that fails to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission would be arbitrary, capricious, and contrary to Ascension Parish law. As such, I urge you to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and to move forward with removing the historic overlay for this property. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Catherine Goppel. All right. Okay.
Motion to approve planning and zoning recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Any discussion by council members? Mr. Dick Snyder.
Thank you. I am in favor of removing this because it does not meet the designated that we have put on it. I think it's important for us to get this done. Mr. Gale has stated reasons, and we need to move on with this. Excuse me. I am disappointed. I think, people need to know that the reason that the site did not meet the historical standard was because, as a quote from the information that we received, school setting has continued to evolve to the point that it no longer meets the integrity criteria for national register eligibility. If the property was nominated today, it does not have sufficient integrity as listed, and that's in 2010 in May. And the reason for that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that some buildings were moved on and some improvements and all were made on the site. And because of the historical overlay, that was supposed to be done through the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve of that. And so that process was not followed. So it's just disappointing that by not following proper procedure, actually led to what was intended to get off, so that the restrictions would not be encumbered. Obviously, I don't think anyone on this council realized the amount of restrictions that the landowners had to overcome in order to develop things that they need to develop. Speaking with Ms. Gale and others, there's no intent, this was done a long time ago, there was no intent as to doing this historical overlay to circumvent the landowners' responsibility and ability to significantly improve their property. In fact, that was the intent to do it, to protect the historical site and to be able to improve that. Obviously, with what's going on, that's not what's happening. And so, with this, I think this gives us an opportunity to take a look at the whole overlay and review it and see what improvements can be made so that we don't have this situation that leads to homeowners or landowners trying to have to do something to get out of the restriction. And so I think it's important that we take a look at this as quickly as possible and take some advice from some of the owners of the property to try to make it better for them so that we can protect the sites and yet enable them to continue to expand and do things economically that would make those sites better. So I would ask that the rest of the council would support the idea of revamping these statutes on there so that we don't have these issues crop up again with other sites, which we have had in the past.
Thank you, sir. Any other speakers? We have a motion and a second on the floor to accept the recommendation of the zoning commission, which is approval of the rezoning. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 13, introduction of ordinance.
This is a revision to the ordinance born out of a recent visit from the EPA auditing our stormwater management program. They wanted to see our enforcement escalation policies laid out. Prior to this, we didn't really have it defined. And so the revisions lay out a series of steps that, consequences for not following permit requirements.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion introduced.
Second.
Second. We have a speaker on this. Huh? We have a speaker. Ms. Catherine Goffin. Thank you.
Parish President.
Parish President.
Had the opportunity to meet with these folks when they came in and did an audit. They're just starting to audit the parishes in the state. We were actually one of the first. And we had actually been asked to come up with a plan in the year 2002. and have it done by the year 2007 and started implementing in 2008. So basically, from 2002 through 2007, nothing was done on this plan. So now we're having to go back, and I think we're going to be okay with it. We've met with them. We're going to implement a strong plan. We've talked to experts on what sort of plan that we needed for the parish, and EPA and DEQ are both working with us. I think they did the same thing with the city of Gonzales, since they were in there, and it's a separate entity. So again, it's a big deal. It's going to be something that's going on across the nation. Now it's coming to Louisiana, and we're all going to have to comply. What really scares me about this program is, and other counties across the United States, you know, you have to hire you're going to probably have to hire a whole staff to man this and to actually go out and police every little bit of new growth that you have in different areas. So it's not going to be an inexpensive endeavor. I don't think we're going to get fined on it because, as I said, we had some really good dialogue with it. But we need to prepare in the future, and probably in next year's budget have to have a staff to actually go out and regulate stormwater discharge in Ascension Parish. So we're going to work together. Hopefully we can maybe, we're actually going to be putting on some classes in the near future this summer at Lamar Dixon, and for other parishes to come in and get certified in stormwater training, so in stormwater certificate, so they could get certified. So it's something that's coming in the future. Should have been addressed 5 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever. Hadn't been addressed, so now we're going to have to address it. And as I said, I don't think it's going to be bad on us at first, but I think we're going to have to come up with a really good plan. It's not hard to do. It's just very tedious and a lot of paperwork.
Yes.
I just wanted to explain what this is all about.
I'm sure this is not the last. We'll see it coming forward, and more explanation and better information coming out of it, so.
You've been very cooperative in working with us, and they understand the situation. You know, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of parishes in the state that's going to be in compliance. Fortunately, we just kind of want to see that first.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We had any discussion? Mr. Joseph.
In this process, can we have this put on channel 21, because I think this is going to be incorrect. The public is going to impact the public, and if we can get this on television and showing some highlights what these rules might impact the public, what they should not even do, you know, we get ahead of the ball game as we're going through that process.
You get a lot of credit for educational programs that you do to the public. That's part of one of the things that we're going to utilize, and that's one of the points that we made with EPA and DEQ, that we were going to start an educational program and put it on channel 21. So you're right on when you saying that.
I'm looking at these fines, and you know, we always say we didn't know. When you find them, you find, you know what that means. Right.
Well, I think they're going to be okay with us on this one, but if we don't do from here on out what we're supposed to do, it's not going to be that lenient. And we plan on doing everything that we're supposed to do and get into compliance. And at that point, hopefully we won't have any more problems. And hopefully we can become a model parish in how to do this.
Yes, Mr. Lohr.
As regards code enforcement in general, not just for this regarding drainage violations and servitudes and stuff, I'd be supportive of beefing up in the budget next year our code enforcement division, especially as we're putting the final touches on the parish court process and all that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more cases coming down the line. So that's something I think we definitely need to look at for next year.
Any other discussion? We move on to agenda item number 14, Introduction of ordinance to declare a 1980 Ford L800 chassis as a surplus and transfer title to the city of Donaldsonville pursuant to a cooperative endeavor agreement.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? It's introduced. Move to our public hearing ordinance. Legal counsel, Mr. Diaz, item number 15, reading of ordinance to levy millage of 2011 tax roll on all properties subject to taxation of Ascension Parish.
Be it ordained that the following millages are hereby levied on the 2011 tax roll on all property subject to taxation by the council of the Parish of Ascension, Louisiana. There follows a chart. I'm not going to read that. Well, I'll read it. Parish tax 2.86, parish tax Donaldsonville 1.43, parish tax Gonzales 1.43, health 2.0, mental health 2.0, library for maintenance 4.20, library for maintenance number 2, 2.60, lighting district 1, 5, lighting district 2, 1.0, lighting district 3, 5.0, lighting district 4, 5.0, lighting district 5, 5.0, lighting district 6, 5.0, lighting district 7, 5.0, East Ascension drainage 5.0, West Ascension drainage 5.33, West Ascension drainage number 2, 4.67, Parish Council on Aging 1.5, Fire District number 3, 10.0, Fire District number 3 again 10.0, Utility District number 1, ACUD 10.0. Be it further ordained that the proper administrative officials of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, be and they are hereby empowered, authorized, and directed to spread said taxes as here and above set forth upon the assessment roll of said parish for the year 2011, and to make the collection of the taxes imposed for and on behalf of the taxing authority according to law, and that the taxes herein levied shall become a permanent lien and privilege on all property subject to taxation as herein set forth, and collection thereof shall be enforceable in the manner provided by law.
Thank you, sir. We'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open for public hearing.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Anyone wish to speak?
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to close by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Thompson. We'll move on to the ordinance.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Thompson, to approve the ordinance. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance is passed. We'll move on to number 18. Reading of ordinance to revoke the 20-foot drainage servitude running along the north property line of Lot 69, Old Dutchtown subdivision, second filing.
On a map entitled Final Plat of Old Dutchtown, second filing, being a portion of the Andrew J. Babin et al. And E. Edward Burden et al. Properties for Old Dutchtown Development LLC by Wayne Sledge, PLS, dated August 15, 2005. Be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council as the governing authority for the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, in lawful session, hereby revokes that 20-foot drainage servitude running along the north property line of Lot 69, Old Dutchtown subdivision, second filing. All other public servitudes affecting said property are hereby reserved.
Motion to open for public hearing.
We have a motion by Mr. Thompson to open for public hearing, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. We have the speakers. Any discussion?
Motion closed.
Motion to close by Mr. Todd Lambert,
Second.
second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Public hearing is closed. We'll move on to the ordinance.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert to accept the ordinance, second by Mr. Kent Shake Snyder. Any discussion? The ordinance is accepted. We'll move to agenda item number 21, reading of ordinance to amend the ordinance adopted November 5th, 2009, amended on to December 17th, 2009, and June 3rd, 2010 by the governing authority in and for Ascension Parish, providing for a certain administrative function relative to the continued operation and maintenance at Lamar Dixon Expo Center, subject to certain restrictions.
Whereas the charter of the Parish of Ascension, Section 6-01, requires an ordinance for all acts that regulate the rate or other charge for services provided by the parish and for all amendments to those acts, and whereas an ordinance authorizing the Parish of Ascension to assess and collect certain fees for the operation of Lamar Dixon Expo Center was adopted by Ascension Parish at the November 5, 2009, and amended at the December 17, 2009 meeting and at the June 3, 2010 meeting, and whereas the charter of the Parish of Ascension, Section 601, requires an ordinance for all acts that regulate the rate or other charge for services provided by the parish, therefore be it ordained that the Ascension Parish Council, the governing authority and for the Parish of Ascension, does hereby supplement the fee schedule previously adopted by amending the fees for the operation of Lamar Dixon Expo Center as follows. Traffic police, police officer, old rate $22, new rate $30 per hour. Event police, police officer, $27, new rate $30 per hour. Medical, EMT staff, $22.50, old rate, new rate $27 per hour. All other rates and fees of the original ordinance adopted on November 5, 2009, and amended on December 17, 2009, and June 3, 2010, remain unchanged.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Anyone wishing to speak?
Motion to close.
I'm sorry. Motion closed. Motion to close by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Move the ordinance.
Second.
Mr. Thompson,
Move the ordinance, Councilman Shea Snyder,
Shea
second by Deputy Lambert.
second by Dempsey. Anyone wishing to speak?
I just want to say that this is just off-duty policemen, and that's the going rate now. We didn't change it, but we can't get any officers if we need them now because we're paying less than what they get every year.
They have an established rate. I know. That's good. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 24. Reading of ordinance to conditionally accept ownership of whatever rights the state of Louisiana Department of Transportation may own for LA 932 Joe Severio Road in its entirety from intersection with State Route 931, and to accept all future liabilities associated therewith for its operation and maintenance as a parish route.
Whereas Ascension Parish government is agreeable to conditionally accept ownership of whatever right the state of Louisiana Department of Transportation may own in and to the following described property, and accept all future liabilities associated therewith for its operation and maintenance as a parish route, State Route LA 932, known as Joe Severio Road, in its entirety from its intersection with State Route LA 931, proceeding north approximately 2.16 miles to its terminus, located approximately 0.10 mile north of its intersection with State Route LA 933. Whereas prior to transfer of property, the State of Louisiana Department of Transportation is agreeable to complete the following actions: patch and resurface the pavement with 1.5 inches of hot mix asphalt on that portion to be transferred to Ascension Parish government. Number 2, stripe the resurfaced pavement on that portion to be transferred. Number 3, provide local drainage and guardrail improvements that are mutually agreed to on that portion to be transferred. Whereas it is the high recommendation of the Ascension Parish Council that said property be accepted, therefore be it ordained that the Ascension Parish Council accept ownership of whatever rights the department may own into the portion of the aforesaid state route described herein as a binding agreement between the state of Louisiana and the Parish of Ascension, provided the Department of Transportation Development complies with the conditions described herein within 10 years of adoption of this resolution, which should say ordinance. Please strike that and change that to ordinance instead of resolution. Within 10 years of adoption of this ordinance. Thank you.
Motion to open up public hearing.
We have a motion to open a public hearing by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Anyone wishing to speak?
Motion to close public
Motion
hearing.
closed by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Entertain a motion.
Motion to move the ordinance.
So a motion by Mr. Thompson to move the ordinance.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance passed. Before we move on to agenda item number 27, I'd like to thank everybody that helped set up the staff, everybody that works with the filming and all, if everybody could see the meetings that can't make it. And Officer Demby, for sure, thank you very much, sir. Everyone, their participation. Usually we got Councilman Bell up here to say the happy things, but I would be regressed if I wouldn't take a little personal time. I wanna tell you how great I feel about yesterday. I had the birth of my first granddaughter, and my son Randy and his wife Jessica's second child. She's a beautiful baby girl, 7 pounds 3 ounces, about 20 inches long, big full head of hair.
No.
Sophia Claire Cluot, great little girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Todd Lambert.
Motion adjourned.
We have a motion by Mr. Lambert.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lord, adjourned. We are adjourned.